And that's actually a perfect segue to what I have to talk about. I'm actually in Tennessee right now to help warn the community here about all the things that are happening across the nation. This election is not just about breaking new grounds. This election is about protecting our community. The Chinese American community is under attack like never before. I know we've had a long history of attacking Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans in this country. From the 1800s, when they passed laws that said we can't do other jobs, we can only clean clothes and wash and cook people's food. But that ended up in the Chinese Exclusion Act. And then they passed more laws banning us from owning land, banning us from being married. And that was just a few years, a few decades before the Japanese internment. Don't forget that the Chinese Exclusion Act, the effects of the Chinese Exclusion Act, the laws that told us that this country passed to say we don't want you here, were not repealed until 1965. So, and it hasn't even been that long until they started passing laws against us again. In fact, the very same laws that they passed against our communities 100 years ago are being passed again today. And our community needs to rise up and fight this onslaught of hate against our community. And what we need to do is empower each other and empower ourselves to go vote and to speak up, and then to come back to officials that we helped elect and saying, you must protect us, you must support us, you must join with us to fight against all these laws. And look, if you have not heard about this, if you have not heard about the laws that are being passed around the nation, especially in the last few years, you need to pay attention, because all of these plans, all of these laws are connected to Project 2025. And this is something that I wish we knew earlier, but all of these things that are happening across the nation, more than 24 states in this nation have already passed laws that directly target our communities and say that Asian immigrants, Chinese immigrants who come here, we're just going to go ahead and treat all of them as spies. Okay. And that's going to bleed over to the rest of the community. And right now, Florida, Texas, are trying to pass laws, and many other states have already passed them that said that Chinese people cannot own land. The Chinese immigrants, when you come here, you cannot own a house, you cannot buy a house, you can't buy a business, you can't even own farmland. And it goes further than that. Florida, in addition to its land bill, has passed a bill that says no Chinese students in university. It's not just Florida. Tennessee passed a law that banned immigrants at first, all immigrants, from owning property. But the next year they came back and said, sorry, we just meant Chinese immigrants. Okay. Texas and many other states are gearing up to pass all of these laws restricting property ownership, laws restricting education, laws restricting employment, saying that Chinese people, Chinese immigrants, Chinese Americans should not be allowed in medicine, should not be allowed in research, should not be allowed in academia, should not be allowed in anything that's related to tech, no computer programming, no computer hardware, no aerospace. And all this is being done under the guise of national security. But it has one commonality. It takes Asian Americans who have left a place and saying, you are all responsible for what happens, just as we did during World War II. Because in World War II, we said about the Japanese Americans, 66% of whom, 2/3 of whom, when they were taken to the concentration camps, they were American-born citizens. Because American generals said, we don't care whether they're American citizens or if they're loyal. A Jap's a Jap. And they're saying the same thing about Chinese Americans right now. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter that you're a citizen. It doesn't matter that you're a respected, decorated, honored veteran like Ted Lieu. Everybody is a spy. And that's what we're fighting against. That's what we have to combat. And the way we combat that, the way we fight against that is to build political power. And if your community doesn't know about what's happening, you better go and inform them. And when they ask you, what do we do then? What do? We vote. We get together and we use our power. Because at the end of the day, when we go to elected officials and saying, we brought these votes, do you really want to mess with us? Things will change. So let's go out there, and I'm happy to introduce my very good friend from Houston and one of the really